In this video, I'm just gonna go over the wiring harness. Right off the bat, this wiring harness is an absolute disaster. It's not looking good. Next thing I'm gonna be doing, removing the entire old wiring harness. Make sure you remove the battery before you start cutting wires. You want to keep in mind where a previous ground was, here. So I'm just going to leave that there, so I keep that in mind. I'm just going to start removing as violently as possible, just to help get rid of some of the frustration of having to deal with this in the first place. Alright, so I managed to take out all of the wiring. Now we're gonna go and look over the parts that the new parts that we're gonna install, and I'm gonna show you guys what to look out for. Alright, so I wanted to have a quick look at what the CPC Revival Kit comes with. The most important is the wiring harness. I went through the trouble of going over it to my supplier, labeling what each and every wire output is for. So this says rectifier, so what you do is you just take the rectifier and plug it in, so there's no mix-ups, there's no mix-matching wires. You know exactly where everything goes and there's no room for error. I just wanted to put a wiring harness together with just the necessary components to charge the battery and give spark, so that I'm sure that I'm covering my base. I'm not overcomplicating something that should be simple, and I know that every time I push that electric button there's going to be a spark and it's going to turn over and start my machine. I didn't want anything to be overly complicated. And I wanted it to also be compatible with almost every single machine out there. So any 5-pin CDI with 5 pins, this electrical harness is going to be compatible. The kit also comes with your choice of magneto stator. For the horizontal engines, electric start, there's only 2 stator options. It's the 6-pole magneto stator or the 2-pole. These are the only options available. On my website you have the option to choose which one you want. There's only one way to figure out which stator you have. You need to open up the stator cover and visually see which one you have. It could be either or. It doesn't matter what machine or anything like that. It also comes with your choice of electric starter, either the bottom mount, the top mount electric starter, and you can choose which one you want on my website as well. Your choice of battery, either the GTX 5 LBS or the GTX 4 LBS. You just have to see where it fits and which one goes in that spot. Measure out your spot, and that's it. This is the only kit out there on the market that has everything properly marked out. And a lot of kits, sometimes you buy them and you plug everything up and it still doesn't even start. I'm going to show you why that happens sometimes, and also sometimes the kit is just badly put together, the wires don't match up and everything. So I did my due diligence, I went over it with my supplier, and I used the material that I sell, so you know that it's going to work. I test all the products that I sell to make sure that they're at the level that I need them to be at to sell to my clients. You could get this kit on my website. I'm going to put the link in the description. It's the only kit like it on the market, and I have it priced very affordably just because it's a bulk order, and I'm able to keep my costs as low as possible for you guys. I'd really appreciate if you give my website a look, and hopefully you could find what you need. So the only way to know which stator you have, whether it's a 6-pole or a 2-pole magneto stator, is to visually check it. So on the port side of the vehicle, you're gonna have the stator cover. It's held on by 4 8mm bolts. Just remove the bolts and inspect what coil you have. So mine's gonna be the 6-pole coil. 2, 6. It's gonna be the 6. All you have to do to remove this is take out 1, 2 8mm bolts here, and 1, 2 star bolts right there. So this is the old coil. We're gonna get rid of that. Install the new coil. The way you're gonna want to install this is have these wires facing the bottom. So this faces the bottom, and you can put these 2 back on. come around the back, you want the magnetic ends to be facing the 6-pole. I'm gonna put the magnetostator cover back on. The next step's gonna be to install the wiring loom. So you want to set up generally the direction your wire loom's gonna be. So you see this extra long, extra thin wire, you want to send this towards the front, and you want your battery terminal to be towards the back. So grab a couple of zip ties and start loosely zip tying in your wire loom, the frame. I like to start with the ground, so I'm gonna connect right here. Red is positive, it's marked. Black is ground. Connect it to either the frame, to the engine, but make sure it's an active ground. This is important. You don't want a mistake like this to be the reason you don't have reliable spark. Alright, so they're all super nicely connected here. What I like to do once they're all connected is tape each one with electrical tape to be sure that they don't disconnect when you're riding or with the vibrations of the engine or anything like that. Alright, so all 5 of them are taped now, and that's good to go. That won't be going anywhere. Next thing I like to do is install the solenoid. This positive wire that leads to the battery terminal is going to be one end of the solenoid. The other end is going to be your starter. There's going to be another connection at the back of the solenoid that's going to go on the wiring harness to the little place it says relay. There it says relay. So you're going to connect this to your solenoid just like that, and find a place to put this on the frame. Throw a little cap over it, and that's good to go. Put on the coil. Gonna look at the front of the harness, find the 2 wires within coil. Just gonna connect them black and yellow with the black and yellow, green with the green, and a little bit of electrical tape just to prevent any mistakes from happening. And that's good to go. Right there like that. I'm gonna face the rear, go to the rectifier, clearly marked. It's so simple when everything's marked. You don't have to look for anything. It's not a big mystery. I'm gonna set the rectifier right there, on there where it's gotta be. Beautiful. I'm gonna put the cluster switch on the handle first, and I'm gonna run the wire. Make sure you don't forget to run it through the cable over here, or when you go to put your plastics back on, you're gonna wake up to a surprise. Now connect the cluster to where it says cluster clearly. It's gonna be 2 connections, and that's done. I'm gonna put the CDI like that. Now the key switch to the key switch, like so. Here's the most important part, so I hope you stayed this long, and I hope you're paying attention. So these 2 wires here, this is where everybody usually makes a mistake. You can't forget to connect these 2 wires. This is the only obligated safety on this wiring harness. So the way these things, these little ATVs are set up, you need to hold the brake. See, you pull in the brake and then press the starter at the same time. So you need to connect these 2 wires to the brake wire, which is right here, so that when you pull in the brake is the only time you can start the vehicle. Now in this particular vehicle, the brake sensors are looking pretty corroded, but I'm gonna try touching them. I'm gonna try connecting them anyway just to see if it works. Take the wire from the 2 brake sensors. I'm just gonna do a quick test. Connect green to green, black to black. I'm gonna see if I could turn over the ATV pulling in the brakes. So no, I don't think so. I think these ends are too corroded. If your brake lines are too corroded, what you can do, and what I suggest you do, is either replace these this contact over here, which is probably rusted out and that's why it's not working, or just take the 2 ends, make sure, grab a piece of electrical tape, wrap them up together, make sure it's tight and that they're clearly touching. Then you just fold this up and put this somewhere in the wiring loom. Now I guarantee you'll be able to turn over this motor. good to go. All that's left to do, install the spark plug and fire her up. Just gonna do a quick spark test. Gonna ground the spark plug to the body. Let's see if we're getting any spark, which we are. We're getting tons of spark. So this is how to guarantee getting spark on any machine you want. If you want the same kit, go check out my website. I'm putting a link in the description to these kits. They're absolutely the best all-around kits. It's just, I guarantee, if you take my kit, I know you're gonna get spark. Anyone can do it. They're tried and tested. That's really the only issues these little ATVs have. It's electrical problems or carburation issues. Replace the whole wiring, especially some people just fool around with it and cut things, and it's a whole disaster going on. If this video helped you, feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, I promise. And if you're looking for any parts for your Chinese vehicles, feel free to check out my website. It's going to be a link in the description.